right now on the National Weather Desk. Snow, ice, powerful winds, and more take over much of the nation. We have team coverage to show you the impact of this bomb cyclone.
The weather is brutally cold.
Wind gusts are going to be between 40 and 50 miles per hour.
Dramatic video shows the intensity of the storm as it rolls over a warm lake. And how much do you really know about the North Pole?
So if you were wanting to go to the geographic North Pole, you don't want to use a compass because you won't actually end up there.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen. The once-in-a-generation storm that we have been talking about all week is now gripping so much of the nation. Snow, powerful winds, and bitter cold are impacting more than half the U.S. population, and that includes people as far south as Texas and Florida. Now, roads are treacherous across much of the nation. This is I-40 in the Nashville area where you can see that the road is shiny, which means there's definitely ice. And take a look at this, just north in Kentucky. The roads are just as dangerous. You can see icicles that formed on this truck. So it is best to stay off the roads until they can be treated. Now, those powerful winds not only are going to be blowing snow and reducing visibility, they're also knocking down trees and power lines. We actually just checked the numbers, and already this morning, more than 100,000 customers in Georgia are without power, as well as 70,000 in Texas, and those numbers will likely grow throughout the day. Now, those winds also make it feel extremely cold. Here in Austin, Texas, a wind chill warning is up through noon today. The wind chill could drop as low as 10 degrees below zero across the area. Now, we have team coverage of reporters across the country covering this storm, and we begin with a look at the Plains and Great Lakes region, starting off in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
We're here in West Michigan, Kalamazoo to be exact. Here in Kalamazoo County, we're under a blizzard warning until 7 p.m. Saturday evening. The snow really starting to accumulate throughout the day on Friday and into the first part of Saturday. That's when we're also expecting the wind to really pick up and those blizzard conditions to set in. This is the first blizzard warning we've been under since back in 2011, the Groundhog's Day blizzard, which happened in early February. Here, people are being urged to stay home and stay off the roads unless for emergencies.
Now that people are starting to wake up this hour, here's what you need to know. I've already seen Facebook posts in different neighborhood groups. How are the roads? How are the roads? Well, here's what you need to know. The roads are not great. Here's the problem. There was that layer of ice, and then we saw the snow, which honestly, the snow gave you a little traction earlier in the morning. However, the snow just keeps getting blown back over where crews have been able to plow. So you're looking at the parking lot here right now, still very snow covered, and there was several snow plows here earlier this morning. Here in Mason, oh, there goes a good gust of wind. They are doing, obviously, the main thoroughfares first, and each route takes about 2 hours to complete. So the wind kind of blowing things over, it just sort of starts it over again.
This massive winter storm that has been impacting the entire country still impacts northern Indiana and southwest Michigan. System snow last night, and continue to see more of that snow in the form of lake effect. That's actually going to bring more of the blowing snow, too, because wind gusts are going to be between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Blowing snow is going to limit visibility to only a quarter of a mile or even less at times. On top of the snow and the wind, we got to talk about the cold. Wind chills today, 30 degrees below zero, even colder at times. The actual air temperature, at best, single digits. The Indiana Department of Homeland Security has actually activated members of the Indiana National Guard in case motorists do get stranded during any incidents today. I'm meteorologist Lynette Grant, and that's the scene here.
Yeah, good morning to you. This is a live look on Interstate 80 right now as we continue eastbound just outside of Iowa City, Iowa. We've been dealing with a lot of slick conditions for a lot of us over the past couple of days or so as things have been working their way through the area. Most of the snow did come down yesterday, but as we continue on over the next few days or so, we are still going to be dealing with a lot of these windy conditions. Here on Interstate 80, a lot of slick conditions. We've already seen a couple of cars in the ditch currently and a couple of semis as well, as things do continue to likely degrade as that sun comes up. Visibility likely to continue to drop as more of those winds continue to blow more of that snow around. Just outside of Iowa City, I'm meteorologist Garrett Hyde.
And a huge shout out to all of our reporters across the country that are giving us these reports in these conditions. I mean, just take a look at the map behind me. 45 states with winter weather alerts, blizzard warnings from the northern plains into the upper Midwest, wind chill advisories and wind chill warnings extending all the way down through Texas and Florida. So a lot of these areas are just not used to this cold. And you've probably been hearing the term bomb cyclone. Well, basically, we'll see if it actually does happen, but it is a rapidly intensifying storm. And this storm is really going to be having a firm grip on the mid-Atlantic and New England, especially through the rest of our Friday and into early Saturday before the storm kind of slowly moves into Canada and kind of weakens its grip. But it really is going to have a major impact, of course, with wind chills sub-zero in so much of the country. So really dangerous cold. Want to make sure that you and your family are safe and protected because frostbite is a real concern for so many of these areas. But guys, our team coverage will continue with a look at current conditions in our southern states. Here's Sydney Snow in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, here in Nashville, it is cold, I can tell you that. Now, we're not seeing as much snow as some of the other parts of the country, just really a light dusting. We got about 1 to 2 inches, but the main story is the wind, is the cold. It feels about negative 19 degrees here, which is just something unheard of for Tennessee. To put all of this into perspective, I'm wearing 5 layers right now. Other people are really just staying indoors when they can, something that we're really not used to at all. I'm Sydney Snow, and that's the weather here in Nashville.
Here in Oklahoma City, the weather is brutally cold. Millions of people across the state are dealing with wind chills that are making it feel like it is below 0 degrees. On Thursday, there were dozens of accidents across the state that resulted in 2 deaths when a snowstorm blew by. Now, on Christmas Day, that is when these temperatures are expected to go back to normal. We're talking about 40 degrees. I'm Victor Park. That is the scene here.
In Austin, Texas, the weather is bitter cold. Central Texans are waking up to temperatures in the teens, a wind chill and hard freeze warning. Thankfully, the forecast says it will be dry and that shouldn't impact travel. And if Texans do have to go outside, it's important to layer up to prevent any frostbite or hypothermia. I'm Emily Chavez, and that's a scene from here.
Well, in the mid-Atlantic, we've seen all rain so far with temperatures in the 40s and 50s, but the rain should stop just before the bitter cold moves in this afternoon. So road conditions this morning are just wet, but could turn treacherous later today. Now, the storm isn't bringing snow to New England, but there will be very strong winds through tomorrow night. We could have gusts nearing 65 miles per hour, and power outages with that are possible. Companies brought in extra crews so they can start restoring power as soon as it's safe. And the National Weather Desk storm chaser Brett Adair is following the storm across the Great Lakes region. He was in Indianapolis overnight.
We've got some snow on the ground. We've got the plows out working here tonight, and we are seeing this area drop into the freezer. Now that the snow has began to move off toward the east, it looks like we're really going to see things die down in terms of the precipitation.
And he will be in Michigan today. So if you want, follow him on our social media pages so you can see live views there. And take a look at this. Things got so cold in Kansas City that this doorknob inside was covered in frost. When temperatures outside are so cold, the moisture, water vapor inside the house makes contact with the freezing doorknob and condenses, forming ice. So if you have great weather photos like this, we would love for you to show them on air. Just click the Chime In tab on the station's website to share. And we are seeing some pretty amazing videos that show how quickly things can change during this winter storm. Here's a tower cam time lapse from one of our Illinois stations. This is on campus at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Thursday started out with good visibility, but by midday it wasn't. A totally different story with a complete whiteout. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, a lot of us will be thinking about the North Pole this weekend. But what's the weather really like there? We'll take a look. And we'll find out how farmers keep livestock safe during severe weather.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a major storm blowing through the Northeast during the day today. Heavy rain, strong winds, power outages. That's going to lead our headlines. There's the potential for coastal flooding today. River and stream flooding and a flash freeze is certainly possible during the afternoon and evening. Notice 7 o'clock this morning, that rain and mountain snow is actually blowing through. There's the sharp cold front. That front is the boundary between these 50s, 30s, and teens. A flash freeze is possible late today.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Starting off in the morning and the early midday hours with a quick change from rain to snow for some. That then blasts eastbound, and some of the coldest weather we have seen thus far this season by far, moving in even with some peaks of sunshine as we head into the afternoon in the wake of our latest weather maker. Some extremely cold wind chills potentially up and down the 95 corridor by the end of the day, dropping to near zero. That's the scene here.
Major winter storm going through parts of the country as we go through the day. It looks like on Friday into Saturday. Definitely we're seeing some effects of this, but those temperatures for today, the highs are going to be in the teens in some areas. Look in Nashville, 13 degrees, 48 in Raleigh, 59 in Jacksonville. You get about 79 West Palm as we get through the day, but it looks like much colder air following that as that front continues to push to the south. Maybe a few storms through Florida, but then we clear out for Friday night into Saturday, cold.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
One of nature's amazing moments, steam fog. This happens when cold, dry air moves over a relatively warmer body of water. Here, there's a huge temperature and moisture difference between the Arctic air and the water. The moisture quickly condenses into water droplets or ice crystals, but it only gets so high because the dry air breaks it up. See the swirling fog? It shows this process can be very turbulent.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Well, it's the magical place that children all over the world are dreaming about this weekend, the North Pole. But what are conditions really like at the top of the world? And did you know there are actually two North Poles? Emily Gracie spoke to an expert to find out the difference between the geographical and magnetic North Poles.
So the magnetic pole is where your compass points to. It's basically where the magnetic flow is, and it doesn't line up exactly with the geographic North Pole where the Earth rotates around. So there's a little bit different. So if you were wanting to go to the geographic North Pole, you don't want to use a compass because you won't actually end up there. You'd be a little bit off from there.
What's a little bit off? How far are we talking?
Well, it depends. The magnetic North Pole varies, a few hundred miles off from the geographic North Pole if you followed your compass.
Is there any actual land there?
No, there's no land. It's just an ocean. It's an ice-covered ocean. So you would probably be able to stand on the North Pole.
Let's say you are standing at the North Pole. What kind of interesting phenomenon might you experience there?
Well, it depends on the time of year. I mean, right now it's winter. It's 24 hours of darkness. You'd see a lot of stars. One thing that you won't see at the North Pole that people may think about is the aurora, the northern lights. We think of those as happening up north, and they do, but it happens actually in a ring around the North Pole. During the summertime, of course, you get interesting things. The sun is out 24 hours. You don't see the sun set, and the sun doesn't move really from east to west. It will circle around you. If you stood there, you just see it circling around you. You also get very interesting sun effects in the summertime, or you can get little ice crystals in the atmosphere that reflect the sunlight. And you get things like what are called sundogs, which are little effects or sun pillars around the sun. You can get halos.
What about narwhals? Are there any narwhals?
More so during summer, probably, because in the winter, those what we call leads, those open water areas start freezing over pretty quickly, so they don't last for very long. There's not a lot of animals up there. You're a long way from land, but there are occasionally polar bears that can be found. They will roam up that way. So it's not completely lifeless, but it's pretty deserted, except for Santa's workshop, of course. So.
Well, if you drive an electric vehicle, there might be some changes to its performance because of the cold. Courtney Wheaton has details in Cincinnati.
According to a study by AAA, electric vehicles get 40% less range when temperatures drop below 20 degrees, which means less miles for your money. Eric Zamudio lives in Miami, but is in the tri-state visiting family for the holidays. He also owns a Tesla.
Just overnight, I saw a pretty big drop in battery life, and we haven't even gotten to the coldest part of the week yet, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Experts suggest knowing your limits and planning ahead.
What can drivers do to combat that? Well, there is a term called preconditioning, and that means starting the vehicle before you head off, starting it actually while it's still plugged in. And you can even actually do that while it's in the garage. Now, we don't recommend that with a gas combustible vehicle.
This in turn will reduce the demand on the car's battery and regulates the cabin temperature. And according to experts at AAA, it's important to know where these charging stations are because you're going to have to charge more often.
Well, there's one segment of our population that has unique weather worries. Ranchers. The blistering cold sweeping the country is not only dangerous to humans, but it presents challenges for those who raise livestock. Some animals don't need much protection, while others do. Josh Margolis has more from Butte, Montana.
Nutrition, water, and shelter. Those are the keys to staying safe during this Arctic air, and it applies to livestock as well.
We want to make sure that ranchers and caretakers provide cattle and other livestock ample supply of feed.
And not just food. Ranchers need to check water for freezing. When it comes to shelter, that's one demand that's not as necessary for livestock, especially for cattle, where typical conditions for them are actually just around the freezing point, so they can usually tolerate conditions like this. However, a windbreak certainly helps. One problem for cattle in extreme cold, however, is mud.
If it's frozen, it creates a very uneven a kind of surface for them to walk on, which can cause injuries and lamenesses.
Once the mud melts, it can accumulate around feeder bunks and water, making it difficult for animals to move through. While healthy cattle and habituated horses and goats can be just fine outside, some animals definitely need shelter.
Those coops should be reasonably airtight. The chicken density shouldn't be so high as to have a moist kind of environment on the floor. So, but small enough where some of those chickens can build off that body heat.
Zalewski warns to be cautious using supplemental heat as they present a serious fire danger.
If we have a significant number of animals in crisis due to a snowstorm, a hay shortage, we may be able to find some resources to be able to help.
All right. Well, with the wind chill, it feels like you've been hearing a lot about with this storm. But what exactly is the wind chill? Well, to find out, we head to meteorologist Alan Seals in Mobile, Alabama.
Did you know that wind chill is only for human beings? It's a calculation for exposed skin for how quickly you lose body heat when the wind blows it away from you. Now, your cat and dog, they don't experience the same wind chill we do. That's because they have fur coats, or at least most of them do. But wind chill literally is calculated for human flesh that's exposed to the air. The harder the wind blows, the lower the temperature feels to you, and that's because your body generates heat. And as the wind blows the heat away, your body tries to keep up, but it can't. So your core temperature begins to fall. Now, here's a NOAA chart that shows calculations for wind chill. And there are different calculations that arrive at basically the same sort of thing. But take, for example, an air temperature of 35 degrees. You know that water freezes at 32. But if it's 35 degrees and the wind is blowing at 35 miles an hour, it makes your body feel like it's 21 degrees. The wind chill would be 21. But that wind chill, though, of 21, as long as that air temperature is above freezing, means water will not freeze. Your pipes will not freeze. And actually, if you're in your house or in your car, there is no wind chill unless there's wind inside of your house. Now, your house and your car will cool down faster, but they cannot cool down beneath the actual air temperature. So wind chill, it's about people, it's about dressing and layers, limiting the amount of exposed skin, and trying to stay as warm as you can by avoiding being in the wind. I'm meteorologist Alan Seals.
Great explainer there. All right, well, maybe you've heard the saying, it's so hot I can fry an egg on the sidewalk, and people have tried it. But what about freezing an egg when it's bitterly cold outside? At least one person in Montana tried it. The person who submitted this video via Chime In says the egg froze in less than 9 minutes yesterday morning. So stay warm, everyone. We'll be right back.
Good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region. It is bitterly cold, single digits, teens to 20s to get the day started. Feels colder, below zero in some cases when you factor in the wind. And through the day, 20s, 30s, just barely above freezing in New Orleans, San Antonio, up into Amarillo. Here's Christmas Eve Saturday. A lot of sunshine, but it is a very cold Christmas weekend. Just no snow to forecast. It's 20s and 30s for high temperatures.
Well, hi there and a good Friday morning to everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. That bitter cold definitely taking root through the midsection of the country and pushing toward the Pacific Northwest with a high of just 17 today in Spokane and 13 in Missoula, making the 60s around L.A. and San Diego sound all the more inviting. We've got a dangerous round of freezing rain pushing into Portland and Seattle. That's the current weather maker. Snow at times all the way through the Continental Divide. And that's the scene from here.
Well, now let's take another look at cities dealing with the storm, starting with a look at Petoskey, Michigan, where they are dealing with snow and gusty winds with blizzard-like conditions with up to 5 inches of snow expected. Now, winds could gust over 40 miles per hour. Low temperatures will be just below 20 degrees. And checking in with Iowa City, Iowa, where it's cloudy right now with 30-mile-per-hour winds and areas of blowing snow. The high is at 0 degrees, with temperatures dropping to 2 degrees below zero later today. And another look at Austin, Texas, where it's mostly sunny with winds between 10 and 20 miles per hour. The high only 31 degrees and dropping to 20 this evening. And take a look at Chattanooga, Tennessee, where there is a mix of clouds and sun. Winds are gusting up to 20 miles per hour. A forecast high of only 15 degrees there with feels like temperatures or wind chills rather dropping into the single digits later today. Guys, we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search at Nat Weather Desk or National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Eileen Whalen, wishing you a great weekend and a great holiday, and we can't wait to see you back here on the National Weather Desk Monday. Take care and stay warm.